The year is 793 AD. A monastery stands silent on the island of Lindisfarne, off England's northern coast, a holy place known for its peace, its scholars, and its sacred texts. But that peace is about to be shattered. Long ships beach upon the shore. Men armed with axes and shields pour out, shouting in a foreign tongue. The monks are slaughtered, the treasures are looted. This attack would echo through all of Europe, marking the beginning of the Viking Age. And from these raids would rise a new realm within England itself, a land ruled not by Anglo-Saxon kings but by Viking law. It would be called the Danelaw. To understand the Danelaw, we must first look across the North Sea to Denmark, the homeland of many of these invaders. In the early Middle Ages, Denmark was a land of farmers, fishermen, and traders. It was not yet a unified kingdom, but a patchwork of petty chieftains ruling over scattered communities. However, the Danes shared a fierce maritime culture, born from the life along the cold northern coasts. Their sleek longships, shallow drafted and fast, could travel across open sea or up shallow rivers, giving them unmatched mobility. By the late 700s, trade routes connected Denmark to Frisia, the Frankish Empire, and the Baltic world. The Danes were skilled traders, but also warriors. Historians believe that overpopulation, limited farmland, and political ambition drove many to seek wealth and land abroad. And just across the sea lay a tempting prize, the wealthy, divided kingdoms of Anglo-Saxon England. After the raid on Lindisfarne in 793 AD, other coastal attacks followed: Jarrow, Iona, Portland, and East Anglia. At first, they came for gold, but as news of England's fertile land and rich monasteries spread, more came to settle. By the mid-9th century, these small raiding parties evolved into organized armies. The largest of them all arrived in 865 AD, the Great Heathen Army. It was led by fearsome warlords, including Ivar the Boneless, Ubba, and Halfdan Ragnarsson, legendary sons of Ragnar Lothbrok. Their goal was not plunder, but conquest. They captured York in 866 and made it their stronghold, renaming it Jorvik. They crushed Northumbria, overran East Anglia, and forced Mercia into submission. Only Wessex, ruled by King Alfred the Great, still held out. In 878 AD, Alfred faced the Viking leader Guthrum at the Battle of Edington. Against all odds, Alfred triumphed. After the battle, the two leaders made peace. Guthrum agreed to accept baptism, and through the Treaty of Wedmore, England was divided. One side was Anglo-Saxon Wessex. The other, lands under Viking control, became known as the Danelaw. The Danelaw covered the northern and eastern third of England, including Northumbria, East Anglia, and 5 boroughs: Derby, Leicester, Lincoln, Nottingham, and Stamford. Here, the Danes established their own settlements, laws, and customs. The term Danelaw comes from the Old English Danelago, meaning Danish law. It described not just a territory, but a legal and cultural frontier. Under the Danelaw, Norse customs governed life. Disputes were settled according to Danish law codes, emphasizing compensation over punishment. The concept of vergild, or man price, was central. The landscape itself changed too. Towns like Grimsby, Whitby, Derby, and Scunthorpe bear Viking names: By meaning village, and Thorpe meaning farmstead. The Vikings didn't just conquer, they settled. They farmed the land, traded in markets, and raised families. Archaeological evidence, from silver orbs to runic carvings, reveal a world of both warfare and coexistence. While the Danes ruled parts of England, their homeland was also transforming. In the late 9th and early 10th centuries, Denmark itself was unifying under powerful kings like Gorm the Old and Harald Bluetooth, rulers who claimed descent from Odin and sought to unite the Danes under one crown and one faith. Harald Bluetooth famously declared that he had made the Danes Christian. This unification at home gave Danish kings the strength to project power abroad, across the Baltic into Norway and back to England. The Danelaw became not only a Viking colony, but an extension of Danish influence, a bridge between the North Sea world and the English kingdoms. Trade flourished. Silver from the Islamic world, furs from Scandinavia, and slaves from Ireland passed through Viking-controlled England. For a time, the North Sea became what some historians call a Viking lake. Yet the Danelaw was never fully secure. Alfred's successors, Edward the Elder, Aethelstan, and Edmund, gradually reconquered much of the land. By 954 AD, the last Viking king of York, Eric Bloodaxe, was killed, and the Danelaw in name disappeared. But Danish influence endured. In 1013, a new wave of Danish power arrived, this time led by King Svein Forkbeard and his son Knut the Great. Knut united England, Denmark, and Norway into one West North Sea empire, ruling from Winchester and embracing both English and Viking traditions. After Knut's death, his dynasty faltered and the English throne passed to Edward the Confessor, a king with deep Norman ties. The Normans too traced their origins to Vikings. A century earlier, a Viking named Rollo had been granted a land in northern France, Normandy, in exchange for peace. His descendants became French-speaking Christian nobles, blending Viking courage with Frankish sophistication. When Edward died childless in 1066 AD, the English crown was claimed by three men: Harald Godwinson, the English noble; Harald Hardrada, the last great Viking king of Norway; and William, Duke of Normandy, a descendant of Rollo. At Stamford Bridge, Harald defeated Hardrada, ending the Viking Age. But weeks later, William crossed the English Channel and triumphed at Hastings, becoming William the Conqueror, the first Norman king of England, a man whose bloodline ran straight back to the Vikings. The Danelaw vanished from the map, but never from history. Its legacy remains in English law, place names, and even language. Common English words like sky, window, law, egg, and knife all come from Old Norse. The fusion of Norse and Anglo-Saxon culture created something entirely new, the foundations of medieval England itself. From the coasts of Denmark to the fields of Yorkshire, from longships to castles, from Guthrum to William the Conqueror, the story of the Danelaw is the story of how Vikings changed England forever. This was Knights of the Steppe. Thank you for watching.